Hello, and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. That's good. My name is Jed, and we are exploring the difference between belief and understanding. And we are in particular exploring the idea that everything is relative to personal opinion or perspective. Everyone's entitled to their belief, and if it seems true to you, then it is true. Truth is whatever seems true to whomever it seems that way. Isn't that what we are told by certain belief-based groups that want to maintain their power through belief in opposition to understanding? Of course, if everything is relative to personal belief, there is no need to develop thinking, develop the skill of thinking, to develop understanding, to learn and grow. Because if you just can keep the beliefs that you got when you were 4 years old, what's the point of actually learning? It's just a matter of belief. So that's what the book is about, and of course we are seeing that this everything is relative is perhaps the most dangerous belief, in that it's the belief that justifies all other belief systems. Also the most dangerous because it blocks our participation in understanding, the activity that allows us to solve problems and reach our excellence and our purpose. So our last episode, we explored how the structure of understanding, dialectic, can be used to unpack the meaning of your dreams. So, if we can understand our purpose as twofold, to surface and remove our own false beliefs that limit our own personal development, and the second part, to use that freedom from our blocks to our development to actually develop through understanding, to reach our highest goals and excellence. Your dreams will give you instruction and guidance on how to do both. But of course, it's not literal. Your dreams are not literal. In other words, to get the message, you have to meet the moment. You have to match your mind to the mind of the dream maker as best you can. Which means you have to try to participate in dialectic yourself. Otherwise, you'll miss all of the messages. Because that very activity of unpacking our dreams or reading our dreams without interpretation, as we are learning how to read this text without interpretation being the functioning of belief, to add what isn't there or to leave out what is, then, well, in order to access the message, you have to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. Practicing the dialectic. And that is what unlocks our dreams. So, yesterday we were talking about how we could use specific elements of the dialectic or versions of the dialectic to approach our dream in different ways. And it's all good. Our dreams are so rich, and of course, don't believe me, but you can see for yourself how rich our dreams are, that any one of these dialectic styles or aspects you could apply to your dreams to unpack meaning. Here's the board. We also, yesterday, were developing principles of being in the game of philodianoia, love of understanding, or the way of being we call Hellenic. Our true way of being as human beings. The way of being that puts all other ways of being to shame. We talked about how your insights or spiritual experiences have to be objects for reflection to develop understanding. So your insights lead to deeper understanding, development of understanding, which of course gives rise to insights. which again is used to develop your understanding, so it evolves upwards. It's the learning process. Of course, belief doesn't do that. Belief is stuck in a loop of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Everything you do because you function through belief isn't neutral. You project your beliefs onto the world, and it blinds you from seeing other things that challenge or threaten your beliefs. So you end up acting in that way that confirms those beliefs that you are carrying. So the self-fulfilling prophecy of our unsuspected beliefs that we carry. One of the other roles that belief plays in our life is to counterattack our insights, because belief functions by definition in opposition to truth, understanding, reason, and evidence. And we have been doing dialectics on that to break down how and why beliefs by definition function in opposition to our goodness, our truth, our oneness. It's all up there on the board. Let's not get into it now. So, with every new insight that you experience or new conclusion that you come to through understanding, you have to expect counterattacks from beliefs trying to fight back. Hey, that wasn't good insight. You can't know that, otherwise, who do you think you are, better than everyone else? If everyone else accepts belief, and here you are with this deeper understanding, you think you're better than everyone? You're a small bean, you're a bad noodle. Thinking is bad, reasoning is bad, logic is just tricks. All of these kinds of things belief can use to sabotage your insight and understanding. That's the counterattack. And because, as we're learning, it's not just a matter of truth, the human game is truth plus humanness. Human beings have a specific response to truth that we call interpretation. Now, ideally, we want to move through the stages of interpretation, from completely ignoring a new truth that challenges your current worldview to, hey, kind of paying attention, but just offering your own beliefs. Well, I think this is the case. Taking a piece of the new, a little bit of understanding. Now that we understand women are not less than men, we'll put that onto the patch. We'll still keep Christianity, or we'll still keep religious views, or we'll still keep conservatism, but we won't treat women like cattle anymore. We'll take a piece of understanding. We won't fundamentally get rid of those false beliefs that were false this whole time and harmful. We'll just add that. We'll add that stuff about women no longer being objects or cattle. The fourth level of interpretation. This is all from the previous book, by the way. If you want to understand why we have 5 stages of interpretation, check out the Socrates and Jesus, A Dialogue in Heaven book. And it's on this channel, on the YouTube. We go through that together, and that's a lot of fun. The fourth, to try and unify understanding with belief. So the final way of saving belief, trying to mash the two together. And of course, the final stage is non-interpretation, to drop what was old and false and accept the new and true. To drop belief and accept understanding. So, the second principle of being in this game, expect those counterattacks as belief fights back through those stages of interpretation to undermine your understanding or insight. That's normal until you have freed yourself from your own false beliefs, which happens through dream analysis combined with philosophical midwifery. The dialectic, or understanding, applied to your dreams is dream analysis, and that will give you information about your problems that you can apply the dialectic of midwifery to philosophical midwifery, which is the dialectic on how to trace the source of your problems back to its root cause and address what was not addressed rationally. This time you address it rationally, and that is, of course, called midwifery. So, use your insights for development of understanding, expect counterattacks from belief, address them through midwifery while keeping your cool. Expect those ups and downs in the graph of life, of positive experiences and negative experiences. Expect them and keep your cool. Share those ups and downs, your insights and understanding, your reading and midwifery and dream work with others in the game on the journey. Find like-minded people to share these things with. Number 3. Number 4. After insights or after enlightenment, keep going. Okay, it's a very normal, expectable thing that once you reach higher states of being, you might think, well, that's completely different than everything I knew. I'm it now. I'm the one now. I've reached enlightenment. I'm going to write books or start a cult. And we're seeing that there are stages of insight or enlightenment that we can move through. And even the greatest experience of enlightenment must have a cause. So in principle, the ultimate stages of enlightenment are beyond experiences. So you keep that in mind, because if you have enlightenment experiences, keep on going. Keep developing your understanding. Keep purifying your beliefs, keep sharing it with others, and keep developing. So we have these four principles so far in what it means to be in the game. And those ups and downs that we go through from our high states and those counterattacks, we can use that to map out our dream too. You can create this graph, the ups and downs. What were the states of mind that you went through in the drama of your dream? Can you look for high states? Can you look for low states? Can you see the counterattack from a high state in a low state? And if you want to launch into the dialectic on a specific part of your dream, you could start at those high points or the low points. That's a good way of jumping in. The fact that the drama that plays out in your dreams has stages of development towards a goal, so that goal will either end in a success or failure in reaching the stated goal within the dream. That's important. And the fact that this drama has a personal significance to you, number one, in your life currently, but also a spiritual significance more generally, more universally, to do with why you were born here in this part of time, in this part of history, in this part of the world, in this part of the galaxy. Why you were born here specifically. In other words, what are you here to learn about the self and reality? The fact that that drama has that higher meaning to you personally and universally, that you can unpack by using analogy, which is finding the specifics that you've mapped out in your dream, and you can draw the scenes with characters as well. Dropping the specifics and rising to the level of meaning, that's called anagogic movement through analogy. In other words, well, the fact that that's how the drama works, that's called allegory. Allegory. A drama that has a analogical meaning in a higher way that you can access if you move from the specifics to the meaning, or the particulars to the general. That's called an allegory. Allegory because the meaning is spiritual as well. So, if we want to, so you can use allegory to unpack the meaning of the drama, but also when you want to unpack the meaning of those high and low states of mind, we use simile. What was it like to be in this state? And ideally you're doing it with a friend, and they're writing it down somewhere on a notepad that you can both see, or a blackboard or a whiteboard. Describe this state of mind, which allows you to play the two roles that we do as human beings, the A button and the B button. The A button, experience; the B button, understanding. So by being asked questions by the dialectician, notice the dialectician asks the questions because it's your learning. You are the dreamer. You are the one giving birth to these ideas. So as you're being asked to reflect on these high and low states of mind, you're re-experiencing them, you're remembering them. You're putting yourself back into those high and low states of mind. So that's the A button we press. As human beings, we have an A on the Nintendo controller of being a human being. The thing that makes us more evolved, we have the capacity for ousia, self-reflection or experience, or reflection on our experience. And B, the B button, we have language or reason or understanding. Logos, ousia and logos. So some people have pointed out, there are some academic traditions that do understanding but don't facilitate higher and deeper experiences. You just learn through rote or something like that. And there are some traditions, like Eastern spiritual traditions or different hippie traditions, that have experiences but none of the understanding. Therefore, the archetype of the spiritual method is the dialectic, which is to use both together. So you're recalling the high state of mind, there's your A button, and you're being asked to put words on it by using simile. What is it like to feel that? That's your logos button. So simile, what's it like? Also, you might have some questions, or you might be stuck, or you might be curious about something in the dream. You can look for metaphors. Metaphors. The furniture, the objects. What do they represent? When you're in your dream, if you are talking to a puppy, to you that might mean fun, or loyalty, or freedom. That's why dream interpretation books are silly, because those books take away that metaphor element by telling you, if you dream about a cat, it means you're going to get rich one day. No, the metaphors, the similes, and the allegory has a personal significance to you. They're your dreams. So, what does it mean to you? Metaphor. So those are things that we can use through understanding, because belief doesn't have those things. As we've been reading, belief is just, this is literally true, do it or else we'll kill you, or we'll put you in prison, or we'll send you to hell, or some bullshit. Conservatism, death camps for the people who try to think or grow or challenge or ask questions, or prison. Capitalism, poverty, slavery, homelessness, death, and religion, hell, excommunication. Always the same bullshit. It's very, 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 very simple and easy. Belief bad. What we are doing is understanding all the aspects of why belief is the root cause of all human problems. And what does understanding provide us that belief doesn't? Easy. Sexist belief is bad. Racist belief is bad. You can't believe your way into doing good things. Can you believe your way into performing surgery, to flying a plane, to fixing a car? Can you believe your way out of psychological problems? Can we hope and change our way out of gun violence? Or are all of those things, everything in reality that you do that's good, does it always, always, always require understanding? If so, could we trace the root cause of all human suffering to individually, unsuspected, unchallenged beliefs about ourselves that block us, and as a collective, allowing institutions like politics or religion or capitalism to exist based in opposition to understanding, truth, benefit, goodness, because we allow them to the expertise of those officials to be based in belief. Well, I believe women are less than men, so vote for me. I believe billionaires should exist for some fucking stupid reason. I believe one person should have all of the houses and all of the people should have none of the houses. None of the houses, is how you say that. But that's demonstrably bad and harmful. Yes, but I believe it. So once you realize that, whenever you hear a politician talking, you'll see them say something fucking stupid and horrific, and then they say, well, that's just my opinion. And then the reporter walks away. Every single person has to say, hang on a second, beliefs and opinions are bad. We're not paying you to have beliefs, we're paying you to have expertise, which is based on understanding, which is universal, demonstratable, which means every single question you should be able to answer, otherwise you lack understanding. If you can't answer it, you can do the work to overcome your inadequacy, to learn more. So that would be the next stage of humanity. And of course, for your soul. Whenever you say, well, I just believe that I can't do it, or I believe I'm a bad egg, or a small bean, or a bad noodle. Nope. Not legitimate. You can't legitimately block yourself in that way. We have to learn to ask questions. Why? Think of it like a friend. If a friend said, hey, you should give up on playing football, you wouldn't go, okay, I'm just gonna believe you. You'd say, hang on, why? What makes you say that? What's the reason for saying that? You would test it through understanding. That's how we need to approach our thoughts, our images, our daydreams, our tangents, our fantasies, and especially our night dreams. So, here we can use the dialectic to put all of what we've just said into a structure so we can see it for ourselves, grasp it, and use it. Definition. That's what we're after. We're after surfacing the false definition of ourself that we identify with, our mask, or we're after the true definition of the self. So to purify our false beliefs about ourselves and perfect our understanding to know the self. The idea of the self functions or demonstrates as a state of mind, playing out in your dream. So we can map those states of mind as we've talked about. From that state of mind, you can play a role within your dream or relationship or tangent or fantasy. It's all the same, it's all dialectic. And as a result of that role or division, why division? Because the same functioning state of mind can divide out into different dramas in different scenes or different situations, different roles, or a role played in different areas. Division. And as a result of that division into steps or parts within the drama or allegory, you'll reach a conclusion, either a success or failure. The failure will end up being a confirmation, what you'll take as proof of the original belief or image, the self-fulfilling prophecy. So there's no growth. So as we said before, there is that spiraling upward growth of understanding and insight, A and B button. Belief doesn't. You just keep pressing the select button and your character just stays there. Stagnation. Oh look, if I believe this about myself, I was a small being, then I had this negative state of mind. I felt so sad and miserable. That allowed me to play this role, the wallflower. I didn't speak up for myself, or I was just an angry bastard to be around. And because I was an angry bastard to be around, these people got mad at me and didn't want to hang out with me because I was such an angry bastard to be around, which then confirmed that original idea that I'm useless and rubbish and no one likes me. So you stay stuck in that self-confirming loop. And any evidence or reason that challenges that, so anything that challenges whatever religion you grew up in, you change the evidence, or you move the goalposts, or you block reason. Don't ask questions, you'll go to hell. So the absurdity of belief is it doesn't grow. It's stagnant. And you're stuck in a circular logic. The Bible is true because I feel the Bible is true. The fuck does that mean? Every religion says the same thing. Conservatism. Hey, we should treat poor people badly and allow billionaires to exist because it's just common sense. It's true because it seems true. Why is that standard? If it seems true, it is true. Why is that true? Because it seems true? Circular. Seems to me that whatever seems true is true. The Bible is true. Harry Potter is true because in the Harry Potter books it says Harry Potter is true. Stagnation. Whereas the success would be a greater insight into the whole or a greater understanding of the parts. There's our ousia and logos. And if it's an insight, you can use that insight to develop understanding. That was that principle we just mentioned. And that understanding leads to more insight, which then becomes the object of understanding for deeper understanding. There's our upward spiral. So the opposite of the stagnation, self-fulfilling prophecy of belief is that upward spiraling nature of understanding and insight. Or evidence and reason. Because evidence is, well, especially in matters of your own state of mind, the evidence is your experience or is your insight or your deeper insight or remembering into self and reality. Evidence and reason, baby. So what's curious about that success, insight and understanding is that activity or that role one plays when they contemplate their deepest insights through understanding, either themselves or with friends in dialectical dialogue. That's our ideal functioning. That's our ideal role. So our success becomes a functioning in our ideal role. And if we keep having understanding and insight, that leads to higher and higher states of mind. Ooh. Which was the definition stage. The division was our role. Demonstration, set of mind. Culminating in the peak experiences or states of mind, the greatest or peak states of mind, which is mind knowing itself as mind or reality as a whole. That's ousia. So that's the penultimate class of enlightenment. The enlightenment experiences. The bliss, the beauty, the justice, the harmony, everything all at once. The infinity and oneness together. Peak states of mind. And of course, as we said, even with enlightenment, keep going. So even that enlightenment states of being become objects of reflection through understanding, so you can even use understanding to ask what must be its cause, or what is experiencing that, leading you to go beyond even experience to the self. So while all experiences have a beginning, middle, and end, the self doesn't have to. So it's a kind of learning that we can keep forever. So a kind of learning that can go with us beyond lifetimes and beyond even reincarnation. Giving rise to the expression, the dialectic, the true path of man, can allow us to escape the chains of our problems and the prison of reincarnation. In other words, in the whatever drama you're in whatever time or galaxy or universe or reincarnation, the self doesn't go up and down. The ups and downs of being in time doesn't affect the self, because the self is out of time. Not out of time in the same way that you're out of time plus, let's go back to our map of the building block terms of thought and reality. So while you can understand your peak experiences as the whole of all parts, or out of time that includes as a oneness everything in time, everything all at once, the self is out of time that transcends time. It's the whole that transcends parts, because it's the cause of parts, it's the cause of time, it's the cause of our universe. So those building blocks of understanding that we've been learning to use to unpack the meaning of our dreams, to learn to read the text, to learn to understand the structure behind the thought of Joseph, who's leading the conversation, we can also use to understand our ultimate goals. The two classes of enlightenment. Or the three if we include understanding. The whole of all parts, mind, usia. The whole that transcends parts, self. So if it transcends parts, there's no more limits, so we have freed ourselves from our beliefs, which are, so beliefs are defined by an identification with the lesser of the pair. Mormons may only wear this magic underpants. We may not read Harry Potter, etc., etc. We are different. We are the chosen people. We are apart. We will never be, the Jews will never be one with the Goyim. The Christians will never be one with the heretics. The Muslims will never be one with the infidels, etc., etc. The conservatives will never be one with the woke or the liberals. No whole. So it's to identify with the lesser. And as we said, you can't do anything good, but you can hurt people. Any idiot can smash a computer, but it requires understanding to fix a computer. So belief functions by identifying with the lesser and functioning in a savage, warlike hostility towards your own benefit, whereas understanding is the opposite. Your state of mind is of the whole, while you learn to function providentially, intelligently and caringly to people as they address their limits. You relate to them through the dialectic, exploring ideas rationally in a beneficial way in time. So that's the dialectic, the opposite of belief. Which is why we say our purpose is to cross the green line from beliefs and image thinking of ignorance to understanding, and then cross the purple line from even that higher state of wisdom or knowing to the self. So to have your state of mind as the whole, functioning beneficially through the dialectic to the parts. But what kind of whole? That question opens us up to recognizing there are two categories or classes of enlightenment states. There's a whole of all parts, which is that peak state of mind knowing itself as itself entirely. How can you be everything all at once? You can't in the physical world. But if everything is mind, and you participate in mind as a human being, self, then you can know everything. Now, of course, that would be the greatest superlatives, the whole of all parts, the greatest beauty, the greatest justice, the greatest benefit, the greatest excellence. So it's the absolute peak of the way we currently use language. We use language because everything in our experience is a combination of these pairs. But there's a higher way of using language that goes beyond experience to that ultimate state of being, the self, which you can stay in. You can have an expression used by some, hey, you can't drive your car in that peak state of bliss or brilliant light of being because it's a non-physical state of everything all at once. If you eat a hamburger, you won't know where to stop and you'll eat your hand. It's a joke, you don't do that. But if you're in the car and you're having this peak experience, pull over to the side because you don't want to crash your car. Whereas in the state of self, you can have your coffee and drink it too. Because it doesn't have limits. It doesn't function in time. Well, it functions in time, but it transcends time. So either one of those wholes as your state of mind functioning providentially to the parts is understanding. Whereas belief is the cause of human problems, by definition, it functions in opposition to our own goodness. So the human condition is a kind of war against our own benefit. And we explored the first dialogue in the text and came to a truth table. The nature of our collective or the human condition is a war on mind, beliefs fighting against dianoia and the dialectic. The human condition is, so long as we have these beliefs we haven't purified through midwifery and dream analysis, we will always fight against what's good, what's true, what's one, individually and collectively. Our problems or ignorance. As an individual, to be ruled by belief, which is called prejudice, as we saw last time in the first dialogue of the text. Our excellence, therefore, would be to be ruled by the self-logos, what we just defined as understanding. Whole, functioning providentially to the parts, that's being a dialectician. For a collective, how do we save humanity from extinction? Embrace philodianoia, a way of being called the love of understanding, which is, of course, dialectic as well. So our purpose, therefore, individually and collectively, is to purify the pathologos through midwifery and perfect the self-logos, which is why we read these texts and we apply the dialectic to understand them. So, purify the pathologos, perfect the logos. Get rid of belief, master through discipline, understanding. So, this is all the things that we covered last time that we can use and test for yourselves. Don't just believe the text, or don't just believe me. Understand them and demonstrate them for yourself as a walking dialectician. And then there's this idea where we can push everything up a level as well. If we're exploring a state of mind, you can make that the definition. It functions in the dream as your role in the dream. But you can collect different scenes or different dreams that explore how that role functions in different scenarios so you can get some more nuance. When do you have success? When do you have failures? The same role in different scenarios. So by exploring a series of dreams, taking the success and failures that come as a result of that role, as an exploration of a state of mind that keeps coming up for you in dreams, what would you come to as a conclusion? How could you synthesize those successes and failures into a key idea? Is there something you can glean? Is there something that's always present that can give you synthesis to analysis that you can apply back to that state of mind to gain insight about that state of mind? So next time you're in that state of mind, you can see, oh, I know how this drama will play out. If I function from this state of mind, I'll be in a certain role. I've explored all these different scenarios that will happen if I'm in this state of mind functioning. I know how that movie ends. So, I mean, there's more to say about this particular one, because ultimately we want to find how this whole dialectic functions in our present and has a history through our past to find the origin scene. Because ultimately we want to find what is the idea of self that we don't even know we're carrying. That's the cause even of that state of mind. Which shows us what we've just been talking about. We've just been saying how the ideal state of mind, or our enlightenment peak experience, has a root cause beyond experience. So too, our problems, human problems, belief, we experience as a state of mind, but has itself a cause as the false idea of self. So our stages of development of the logos mirrors how we solve our problems. The peak state of mind of enlightenment has a penultimate enlightenment cause the self. Our negative states of mind have itself a higher cause, the false image of self. Which is why yesterday we talked to our friend and we said, therefore, all human problems or vice is nothing other than the shadow or distorted reflection of virtue. Which means if we understand our problems, we can apply it analogously to gain insight or understanding into our excellence. If we understand how problems work, we can gain insight into how our excellence or our spiritual development works. Equally, in understanding how our spiritual development works, we can understand how and why problems work. It's a win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win.
If you don't know, now you know. Now you know. Now you.
And if you don't know, now you know. So, that brings us back to where we are in the text. There's a review of how we can apply all of this personally to test our ability to read, to practice being a dialectician, and gain the benefit from our own dreams by applying all of this to unpacking your dreams. Which is where we are in the text. So what is it? So the last thing we read, Joseph saying, understanding allows you to develop allegories or analogies. Allegories allow you to use your mind in a more profound way. That's all. When a whole culture can engage in it, then it brings about a new stage of their development. So that's why we're talking about this Hellenic or love of Philodianoia, or the dialectic age, is our next stage of development. Has to be. We can wonder what's even beyond that. If we become a rational species by understanding belief, and if we understand belief, poof, it's gone. All this fierce loyalty, I have to be ignorant. Nobody says, you're entitled to cancer. Don't you take away my cancer. No one says that, but people say, I'm entitled to beliefs. Don't you take away my beliefs. As soon as we understand beliefs for what they are, gone. That's it. We've evolved past our primitive, ignorant, caveman-like stage of evolution, where the people in the cave who are blindly obedient to cave leader and afraid of everything outside of the cave wouldn't get eaten by saber-toothed tigers before we had language and self-reflection, before we could press the A and B button. So it's a kind of survival thing from our history, a solution to a problem that no longer applies. Once we've seen belief as what it is, we'll no longer have to be a slave to it and have to play out the endless horrors and injustice perpetuated individually and collectively by belief. No more holy wars. No more capitalist exploitation. No more destruction of the planet for profit and fun of the billionaire Epstein class. No more subjugation of women because the Bible, some dusty text says so. And free from that loyalty to our ignorance, we can develop what is true, universal, the thing that we've accepted in medicine. We never accept believers to be any religious person who starts to do surgery straight to jail. But I believe I'm a surgeon because the Bible says so. No. We only allow beliefs so long as we don't actually, so long as we believe you don't act them out. You can't actually act on your religious beliefs as a doctor, as a surgeon, as a pilot. No, straight to prison. We're just too stupid to realize that you do act through your religious beliefs. That's how come fascism exists. Holy wars exist. It might be more than one step, but we're allowed to think further than one step. Hey, there's no objective truth on morality and ethics. Bullshit. How? I can't physically see it like I can physically see a doctor killing a patient. That's right. You can see it if you can think more than one step ahead. Hey, a doctor can't kill a patient, but can a politician kill thousands of innocent children? Yup. Oh. But he wasn't the one stabbing them. No, 2 steps removed. That's the dialectic, to be able to think more than one step. Belief keeps us stupid as babies, baby brains. Understanding allows us to think more than one step ahead. So, if we can become rational and solve problems, humanity might have a role within a greater cosmos. So we can ask what would be the stage beyond even Philodianoia or the Hellenic Age of Man. On the basis of this kind of reflection, the Greeks were able to grasp that the rational is the higher and more general expression of the mythical. So mythology, or what people take literally when you're a believer, is only a metaphor or an analogy to describe what is better perceived through reason. Like you might tell a young child a story about how, I don't know, cats and dogs get married or something to have puppies and kittens. But, well, you wouldn't want to tell that story. You might tell a story that a child can understand, but you expect them as they learn to realize that that was just a fairy tale to point to a higher principle that they should grasp with reason. Reach a certain age as a child and you should become rational. The stories from Peppa Pig are not true. But to rationally understand why cooperation is good, or that cats and dogs are different species, that's growth. Believers don't do that. So you stay in a arrested development at age 4. Baby brain shit. So the rational is actually higher and more general. So you don't have to form a group. Well, we believe in the Peppa Pig is the way and the truth and the light. We believe in Jeebus is the way and the truth and the light. We believe in... No. Everyone can participate and reason because it's true. It's universal. Demonstratable. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to be a chosen people. You don't have to smile as you kill the non-group members. None of that belief shit. So the Greeks were able to realize that the rational is higher and more general, an expression of the mythical, and they could see how the higher the objects that we grasp through reason, understanding, and it can be confirmed even in our direct experience, the higher can be symbolized in metaphorical images, similes, and allegories. And those were the things that we are using to test to practice our way of becoming rational by applying metaphors, similes, and allegories to our dreams. So if our purpose is to become rational or philodianoia, we can look for the similes in our dream by talking about what those states of mind are like. We can talk about the metaphors in our dreams. What do the objects or furniture in our dream represent? By going from the specific mythological to the meaning, which is general. That's called anagogic, or upward movement through analogy. So that's simile, metaphor, and allegory to recognize that the drama too, the ups and downs too, are a message about your development. Allegory. So we can become rational and practice understanding by reflecting on our dreams. And if you're lucky enough to have someone in your life who is also a good person, also rational, good heart and good head. Heart because it's not just dianoia, it's philodianoia. You have to want to do it. There has to be some motivation to get you to watch this channel, or to read what we read, or to look at your dreams, or to share with others. Love. Love and logos, the ideal of all relationships. Love without logos is fucking savage, terrible. We know that because of the Epstein files. What these people think is love, or what Christians or religious folk or conservatives think is love, tough love. Horrific. Sadism to love what is harmful. You need logos as well. And of course, logos alone will be empty without you developing a love for it. Love and logos, philodianoia. So, and all of that we can see within these 4 principles. Developing the logos by applying understanding to your higher states of mind or experiences. Developing the so that's the development of the dialectic. Developing the dialectic by addressing the pathologos, by keeping your cool and addressing the counterattacks from belief. Turning that learning or the definition into demonstration by sharing it with others. Sharing it with others. Sharing your logos, your dialectic mastery of logos and pathologos. Become a midwife. Explore ideas. Guide conversations that explore ideas. Reflect on dreams. Hey, before you're exploring an idea or a problem, have people bring their dreams with them. Open with a dream, or finish with a dream. and see how the dream reflects the meaning, which is why you have to be with good people. Because you need to be genuine. You can't bullshit about your dreams. That's wasting everyone's time. And of course, demonstrate this as well by keep going, making it your way of being. So that's where we are in the text. That's how we can apply it to our dreams. That's how we can apply it to understanding the principles of the, what do they say? The next stage of our human development. So let's jump in. Big stretch. So let's go back a bit to see how that compares to what a believer thinks reality is about. So we have Harry saying, well, forget any of that stuff that we talked about. Just interpret. Everything you experience, just interpret in a way that fits the stupid beliefs you already carry. And Joseph points out, well, hang on a second, that won't last. Once you're out of here, no one's going to have that same interpretation, which is based on your beliefs. And it's not understanding, so it's not understandable. And if you can't understand what you believe, how do you know what makes you think you're actually believing it? It turns out that these people who have their beliefs don't actually believe it, as we saw in the beginning of the book. Everything is relative to perspective. Really? Do you believe that? So if it's a drunk guy, a drunk person in first class believes he can fly the plane, do you believe it now? In other words, when it's urgent or important to you, you don't actually believe this. You accept that you have to understand how to fly a plane. It's not just perception. It's not just belief. That's all marketing. It's all just propaganda. So you don't actually, without understanding your own position, you don't actually believe what you believe. But also you can't relate it to anything else. The way we're relating solving our problems to understanding enlightenment, you can't do that. Because you have to understand the parts, see how they fit together, see how you can compare them to other things. So you can't make analogy. You can't analogously compare it to another tradition or another system. You just believe that you believe something, but you don't really. Now the difficulty, the humanness with accepting this is, well, hang on a second, I've been Mormon my whole life. If you take away my love of belief, philodoxia, there's nothing left. All my friends are Mormon, all I know is Mormon, but also my life has been a lie. So all I've done is be knocking on doors saying, be a Mormon, we may wear magic underpants, and we do soaking.
Damn, you really are a gooner.
Because they're gooners.
Goon.
Mormon's the ultimate gooners.
You're like a goon. They're a gooner.
Gooners.
Gooners.
Gooner.
Gooner. So, the loyalty to the beliefs, the ignorance we got when we were 4, and failing to develop or grow or learn or do your intended purpose as a human being is what you think will keep you from facing the nothingness of your position in life. But there are alternatives. But to be a believer, we have to have learned how to defend against reason and understanding. So anything talked about as rational will be just word games. So that's the humanness. The humanness, our loyalty, so we can see the humanness of our loyalty to what's false, belief, and our fear of what's true. It's just word games. You're just trying to trick me. And of course, we need both. That's the dialectic. How to apprehend and communicate the truth while acknowledging the presence of belief in human beings. I saw a debate this morning, and there was one guy who was focused on truth. the truth about problems we are facing in the world and trying to address the root cause of those problems, which were religious beliefs. Like all religious beliefs, they are function in opposition to humanity, to goodness, to truth, by saying the out group are the bad people and the in group are the good people and chosen by God. And we can enslave or murder or exploit the non-belief members. So getting very close to understanding the root cause of all human problems. There was another person who didn't understand any of that, but still wanted to play the role of the knower without actually going through the work of developing understanding to play that role legitimately. That's the appeal of belief. A MAGA person doesn't have to go to university to learn medicine. They can feel like they're a medical expert by just believing Joe Rogan when he says,
I don't want to eat a monkey.
And don't eat a monkey, but instead to cure COVID,
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw. Raw bull balls. This is raw buffalo balls.
if you eat the raw buffalo balls, then you are just as much of a medical expert as Fauci. And then, of course, we can see how those harmful beliefs kill people. Individually, you die by not having medicine, by not trusting medical experts, but then collectively you allow RFK Jr. or Donald Trump or all of these politicians who are ignorant believers pretending to be experts, you let them have power. So, this other person, sorry, back to my story, the other person was a believer, didn't have understanding at all, but wanted to play the role of the knower. We all want to be knowers. The difference is whether we go through the development of understanding to become an actual doctor, or we just believe we're a doctor. So, what does belief do? Can't do anything good, can't address principles, can't solve problems by addressing their cause, can't rationally define the steps to a rationally defined goal. But what you can do is catch someone making a mistake, what you believe is a mistake, and use that as a justification for being an ass to them. Punishment. Believers can only hurt people. So you see all these influencers online who are what they call now clip chimping. The same way, if your teacher knew nothing about math, and you've had these teachers, or knew nothing about English, or knew nothing about science or whatever, maybe a substitute teacher, they couldn't actually help people learn. All they would do is go around criticizing people and punishing people for making a mistake. That's all. So this debate I saw this morning, this one person was like, well, I caught you making a mistake here. So instead of addressing the points you're making and understanding the principles behind them, which would require me to learn and do work, fuck that. I'm going to pretend I'm better than you and put you down by chastising you and punishing you by saying, I don't like this word you used when you made this point. And the other person was like, well, do you get my point? No. Do you get how important this point is? No. What are you doing? Tone policing? Why? Now, if they had an understanding, they would recognize the reason why is this person wants to be a knower like their parents and don't know shit like their parents. And they're attached to their belief-based role of the knower, which involves finding an excuse to justify putting people down. Punishment. You look at the most stupidest people in the world, that's all they do. That's conservatism, grievance politics. The M&M isn't sexy enough. Now I get to beat up a liberal. They're protesting outside of a store. That could hurt business. I'm going to shoot those protesters. The Palestinians are trying to fight back against our oppression. We can murder them harder. Always the same. So, a very frustrating debate because one person is ignoring the point to talk about his personal opinion of a word so he can play a knower without doing the work to develop expertise. The other person was saying, well, why don't you address the points? Aren't they meaningful? Who gives a fuck what language I used? By the way, if you don't understand the issue, what makes you an expert in the language needed to communicate that issue? Nothing. You're just referring to your personal beliefs and opinions. Then what was interesting is after that, because the first person didn't give a shit about anything the other person was saying, just talking over them, so there's no structure, there's no way that this could be brought to light. The two things, what he was saying and what he was actually saying. What he was saying is, you shouldn't use that word. What he was actually saying is, I want to be a knower because I'm afraid of learning something new. And I want to be a knower, and because I'm afraid of learning something new, I'm just going to put you down. Because that will make me feel superior, when really I should feel inferior, because I am lesser. Because I haven't learnt this thing. The same way a patient isn't superior to a doctor. So that's what he was really saying. Now the irony was, the person who was being attacked tried to address the principle. Oh, so you're saying, regardless of the truth of the point, the way I communicate it should be different. Because people might not want to listen to my point. Is that true? If it's true, it should be universal. If it's not universal, you're just being an ass. You're just saying, you have these standards, but I don't. So let's see if it's universal. By the way, are you being incredibly patronizing and talking over me and insulting me right now? Do you think it's legitimate to get me to listen or whatever it is you think you're doing? Oh, in which case, your very principle, you're not applying to yourself because you are being patronizing. You are using a shitty tone. You are using insightful language. And he was using some very bad words. The person attacking the other one for using a bad word was using bad words himself. So in other words, you don't even believe this principle. You are using it selectively so you can overcome your feeling of inadequacy for not understanding me. You are falling into your belief-based role. The next question is, where did you learn this shit? Who did this to you? Because it's not rational. If it was rational, then you wouldn't be doing it either. So the issue was the moderator didn't understand any of that, so he couldn't make it clear. And of course, the belief-based person who wanted to be a knower while criticizing didn't understand principles at all, so he didn't understand what he was doing. So believers will reframe what understanders are doing within their worldview. So this understander saying, hey, let's address this principle. That tone is always the most important thing because you're not doing it yourself. So maybe it's not a principle. But the believer will say, oh, you're just using that selectively to attack me. He wasn't. It felt like he was because that's the believer's worldview. That's projection. The believer selectively uses principles to attack. So when someone is saying, let's address the principles, the believer will say, oh no, you're just using it selectively to attack me. So fuck you. That's why debate is stupid. He is defending his belief. So any principles, that's why dialectic is always only the best way. Because principles are true and universal. You can come together, you can get agreement on every step. There was a second principle that the rational person was recognizing, it was not just the tone thing. Oh, it was you shouldn't try and okay, so there's this thing with social media. All of these people who have this big audience that become professional belief havers, like the Jordan Petersons of the world, the Andrew Tates of the world, all of these people started by doing something outlandish for attention. Andrew Tate realized when he was on Big Brother that if he made sexist jokes, he would get people's attention. Didn't believe that shit. But then as soon as he got people's attention, he had to keep doing it. So he became, well, grew into his false beliefs, his ignorance. But as soon as they get attention, then they start giving life advice. So Andrew Tate claims, no, I'm a wise man. Everyone wants to be the knower. I'm giving advice to young men, says Andrew Tate. Jordy Peterson, same thing. No one gives a shit about your stupid opinions, but he realized he'd get a lot of attention from the right wing if he started attacking gay people's rights or trans people's rights. And as soon as he got attention, what did he do? Published a book, 10 Rules for Life or some bullshit. So that attention converted into being a professional opinion haver. And so in this particular debate I saw this morning, there was this believer saying, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't try and be provocative to get attention, to draw attention to what you're doing. Now, the difference in this particular person, the rational person in this debate, wasn't like Peterson or Tate, because he wasn't interested in becoming a professional opinion haver. He was interested in sharing the truth of the understanding behind the causes of the problems we face. You seem to be doing good work. That's what we're here for, to develop understanding and solve problems through understanding and reach our excellence through understanding. So in this debate, the rational person tried to address that second principle. Don't try and be funny or provocative or edgy to get attention to legitimate causes. And once again, is it a legitimate principle? Well, one way of testing it is, do you believe what you believe? Do you even believe this? Because the only reason I'm interested in your stupid ass opinions, or anyone is interested in your stupid ass opinions, is because you've been provocative by attacking me for using a word you didn't like. So you're saying, I can't do it, but you can do it. You don't even believe what you think you believe. So, again, this is why you need to have a dialectician. This rational person was trying to participate in reason by addressing the rational principle behind the critique. But the believer, being stuck in belief, was in arrested development. He had a child brain, baby brain. And would only reframe the rational exploration of the principle as, you're just attacking me because I'm attacking you. That's why belief keeps us as savage, ignorant, primitive, caveman zombies. Everything is going to be reframed as us versus them. Are you for me by buying my belief-based horseshit, or are you against me because you're challenging my belief? Donald Trump, same thing. Are you going to buy my lies and scams? Because then you're for me. Or if you speak the truth and address principles or causes, you're against me and we'll bomb you or murder you or kill you or send you to a same thing. Send you to a concentration camp. So that was what was happening in this debate that happened this morning. But there's one step, remember? There's what people are saying and what they're actually saying. The human motivations. That was at cross purposes. This is why you have to talk to good people. You have to be open to saying, listen, why were you attracted to, now that we've addressed the logos, the rationality, the truth part of it, that it wasn't actually a principle, you were selectively using a principle, you weren't interested in truth and understanding because, well, rationally you weren't legitimate because you weren't even applying those principles to yourself. You were using a bad tone as you insulted me. So this principle of you have to be polite in your tone to speak the truth. Bullshit. Number 2, you shouldn't use what you have to gain attention. Now, some people are very beautiful and they can gain attention. We call them influencers. Now, the best of our species use their beauty to gain attention to participate in understanding, reason, reflection on ideas. Some people are not very fortunate looking, but are funny or clever, or can be clever in how they get attention. They're not being clever in their insults or their comedy to put people down, but to point to a hypocrisy of an idea or get attention for the idea. The person playing the Noah role in attacking didn't actually believe their own belief because they were themselves trying to get attention for their channel that they had just started, it seemed, by being provocative in criticizing people the same way he was attacking the other man for doing. So that was what was happening. The next step is why. That's the humanness. That won't change. Neither will change. Well, whoever's in the problem won't change unless you find what drew them to playing this irrational role. That's the human addiction to being the knower while not addressing the fear of understanding that prevents becoming an actual knower. All you do is look for situations where you can abuse people. You made a mistake, says a cop. Now I can beat you up, or I can shoot your dog. Cops do that all the time. Conservatives. Whoa, you broke the law, now we can punish you, but we can break the law. You fought back against our colonial imperialism. We're going to genocide you, sanction you, starve you to death. Religion. You don't believe in our crazy horse shit. We're going to kill you in the Crusades or the Holy Wars or whatever. Always, always, always the same one thing. It's just that simple. The addiction to belief while simultaneously wanting to become wise. That's the conflict within our soul. We seek that state of self, that state of knowing, and that mastery of understanding through the dialectic. 1, 2, 3. Self, mind, understanding. We all seek that. That's our excellence. If we weren't seeking that, we would be living in an unjust world because there'd be no philos, no motivation to reaching our excellence. The difficulty is, you can't just do that. You have to also address the false image of yourself, the negative states of mind that you're addicted to, and your belief-based functioning. Which means we can recognize that there are 2 triangles. We seek to know the one self. We seek our knowingness, ousia, state of mind, and we seek to function through understanding and dialectic, mastery of the logos as our functioning. That's what we seek. Call this being the knower, or being the guru, or fulfilling your potential, or your excellence. The difficulty is we have a false idea, false image, or mask, or persona. Hey, very easy to see with preachers. They have that persona, and they're often copying the persona of their preacher. Oh Lord, amen, hallelujah, praise Jesus. They can just talk for hours about nonsense. Comedians are the same. There are some comedians who just they're all persona. They have a funny voice, and they can sound like they're saying something interesting, but it's all their persona. Nothing of substance. False image of the self. Our negative, which can often be sadistic because it's about putting people down. Clip chimping, finding an excuse to insult them. Why? Because any idiot can put people down. Any idiot can hit a child. It takes expertise to help a child. Sadistic state of mind or way of being. That's what this was the motivating factor behind that person who was critiquing in that in the debate. And our functioning is belief. Let's put this underneath, actually. So everything that Harry is demonstrating in the book that we're reading. Personal opinions. It's my opinion, you shouldn't do that. So beliefs, B-E-L-I-E-F, or opinion, based functioning, which happens through interpretation. Well, to me, it seems like you're doing this. Well, to me, it feels like this. Who gives a fuck? That's just interpretation. We're interested in truth. Never once have you paid for a course in mathematics and a teacher has said, it feels like 2 and 2 is 4. Any course. No one cares about beliefs and opinions because we intuitively suspect it's bullshit. It is. What we are doing is understanding why. Interpretation. Now, a better person could come along to that rational man who was being critiqued and say, hey, listen, let me demonstrate an understanding of you, where you're at, the principle of what you're trying to communicate, and would you be open to exploring the nuance on how to communicate that message more effectively? That's different. That would, first, you have to address the logos and principles. Second, it would be an invitation, not a do it or else attitude of this negative state of being, belief. Learning requires testing it. You'd have to understand the principle together, collectively, friendly, and then definition to demonstration. They'd have to test it. Did it work? When I changed this word or substituted it for this word or tried this other technique to gain attention, did it work? And then, what do? Ousia. We reflect on that. Together. It's a relationship. Did it work? Maybe some, sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. That's learning. So belief, opinion, or interpretation as functioning. so we can see what was really being said. There was the question of what was being said and what was really being said. What was really being said is, I want to be this. This is personal. This is our ignorance. This is what does harm. And this is our belief-based. This is all belief-based. And this is our addiction. Human addiction. Which was why whenever the rational man was trying to introduce reason and principles, the belief man didn't give a shit. He just talked over him. And then ironically threw out very negative words, which proved his point was wrong anyway, so. Whereas the higher one is transpersonal, beyond the personal, or universal. The opposite of ignorance would be wisdom. So the true knowing of the self, the true knowing of mind, and our true functioning through the dialectic, that's wisdom. That's what benefits, which would make it an art, not just a skill you practice, but an art because it bestows benefit. It's understanding based. And it's our human excellence. That we truly desire. Our true desire, the opposite of addiction. Now the reason why this is addicting is because it's the shadow of that. Why would we be doing something bad? It must be because we think it's good. Our true desire. So in this way we can see that virtue has vice as its shadow. It's the appearance of virtue or the shadow of virtue that gives rise to vice. And we can see that all of these words can be unified even more simply, the self logos. And our personal ignorance that does harm based on belief, which is our human addiction to this negative pyramid, the false image of self, our negative states of mind and ways of being that functions through belief, opinion, interpretation, that can be unified as what is personal, ignorant, harmful, belief-based, and human addiction, can be unified into one simple word, pathologos. So that debate could demonstrate that there are two stages in addressing human problems. You'd have to address in terms of our human purpose, our purpose is to use the dialectic to perfect So it's good that it's a relationship. You come back to this conversation, perfect the self logos, and use the same dialectic to purify the pathologos. That's what we do in reading. That's why we read these things. So if you were to have this exploration, you better make sure both people have their nose in one of the books that we read. How can you understand what is actually good for humanity if you're not reading about the logos? How can you understand how to fix an engine if you're not reading a mechanical textbook? You have to be reading. That's why we read on this channel. It might not be the most entertaining as a video game or as a outrageous content creator with an outrageous personality, but we have to be doing it. It's part of the game. This is our reading. That's where we are in the text. Joseph is saying, hey, why don't you read something that is intelligible and doesn't need to be saved through personal belief? Why don't you read without saving? Read without interpretation? Why don't you learn without interpretation? That's what we're doing here, learning how to read. It's a time. Oh, I gotta go soon. I'm gonna have a break. I'm gonna come back because we need to read. Speaking of reading, but I have to pick up something from the post office, so I'm gonna take a break in a minute before it closes. And this is to purify our pathologos is our philosophical midwifery. Now notice, the rational man might be able to, if he saw this video, understand what I'm saying, because he has demonstrated interest in principles and interest in truth, and he spends his time trying to solve human problems. So, good head, good heart. It seems. I don't know him very well. I haven't seen much of him at all. But it seems like he would be the sort of person who could understand this. The person doing the attack probably will just get irritated because he's being asked to relate to something outside of his worldview. He will get frustrated. He will be pissed. He will try and reframe this as, you're just on his team, because that's how belief works. You're against me, so I hate you. Or I'm gonna get my followers to call you a doofus, or whatever word they have that means not in my in-group. Which is why if that first person, the belief person, was to want to become a better person, he first of all has to want to become a better person. That's, good faith, we call that nowadays. Someone who seeks wisdom, not seek control of others. They're not interested in this addiction. They're interested in perfecting the higher triangle. They have to go through both of these stages. You have to first demonstrate through reason alone why what they were doing was false, rationally speaking. That's the first thing, what people are saying. The next thing is what they're really saying. So after you say, hey, by the way, this is the reasoning, we're going to step by step explore that there wasn't a universal principle, because here is the definition of the principle, here's how it functions, here are the steps or division of that functioning, including how you are functioning. Therefore, as a conclusion we are seeing, there are times or there's a division where it is, for you, okay to do that because you're doing it right now. Right? Now, having heard that conclusion, it's almost guaranteed he's not going to like that. Because that means, as Harry is saying, I have to face the nothingness of my position. Without this way of being, this persona that I've been cultivating my whole life, that I learned from childhood is necessary to fucking survive, I won't survive. I won't be able to have my persona. I won't know how to relate to people. I won't be able to get my income on my channel. I don't want to lose everything. I don't want to face the nothingness. What is it? The nothingness of my position and my life based on this position. That's going to be his likely human reaction. Therefore, truth ain't enough. It's the first step, a necessary first step, and then after seeing that he's not happy with the conclusion, or he doesn't want to accept the conclusion, we have to go into what he's really saying. He's really communicating to the world his problem. These are the two things. Where are you at in terms of your highest understanding and vision, and where are you stuck? all humans say only these two things. That debate was that belief man saying this is my problem, let me shout it from the hilltops. It just takes someone to learn how to listen. That's the dialectician. We can listen. Great. Now that we've addressed the logos, that's just the entry part. The real thing is why? What was your... now that you've noticed you were doing belief as your functioning, you were interpreting to attack someone instead of addressing what he was talking about, or you were using principles selectively. Tone was important for him, but not for you. He couldn't use a keyword, but you were shouting an incendiary, a triggering keyword at him the whole time. So it's one group, one rule for you, one rule for me. And it functioned to prevent you from actually learning from the man, because the actual thing he was talking about was something you just said you don't understand anything about. Why didn't you go through the work of learning? Why did you spend all of your time doing this belief shit? Now, what's the cause of our functioning? Our state of mind. The next question is, how did it feel when you were getting attention as the knower while you were insulting the man or criticizing the man? That's your addiction. That's your idea of good. You get to cosplay the knower. Like a preacher saying, I know all about finances, giving your money to the church because the Bible says so. I also know about relationships because the Bible says so. I know all about politics because the Bible says so. They don't know shit about relationships or economics or politics, but they can cosplay because they're in the same state of mind as their parents, or their preacher, or their imam, or their rabbi, or their politician, or Elon Musk. It's the same shit. The thing that, if all human ignorance, harm, and injustice comes from belief, and it's only bad, the thing that they market is this: you can be an idiot but feel superior to the good people. That's the marketing. That's the thing belief sells. That's the sales pitch. The question would be to this man, the belief man, is, what did it feel like when you felt superior, even though you were a new streamer, even though you knew nothing about the topic, but you got to feel important? Is that rare for you? Was it special for you? Have you gotten it anywhere else in your life? No, because you don't understand, don't have expertise anywhere else? Where did you learn it from? Who modeled this state of mind? Now we're into midwifery. What's midwifery? We're using the dialectic to address, like we do in our dream. Hey, this was your functioning. So there's our division. That led to the conclusion of a failure. Your failure to accept even the logic of our reasoning that we've just gone through. The demonstration was your state of mind. Midwifery is saying, hey, even that has a cause, the self. You must have a false idea of yourself. That's your problem. Not personal, everyone's, yes, personal, but also it's everyone's problem. It's why we're here. We wouldn't be here if we weren't carrying a false image of the self, causing us to reincarnate into time to play out the implications of our false image of self in every single moment, in every debate, every relationship, every fantasy, every tangent, every dream, and every night dream. That's what we're here for. What it means to listen and be a good person is to use the dialectic to ask questions about that state of mind, functioning in the present through the past to the origin scene, to find the first person modeling that state of mind that he is imitating, because belief is imitation. As the Oracle says,
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
it's not a logical position, it's a stupid or imitation way. And also, as the Oracle points out, which one?
Personality maxing requires you. Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy?
No.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
You can't reason him out of this position because it was imitation based. You can ask them questions, tracing it back to that origin scene where they look at mummy or daddy or whoever was their parental surrogates, modeling that image, them as a child thinking, wow, this is beauty, this is justice, this is the image of virtue, because the state of mind of true knowingness is beauty itself, justice itself, love itself, caring itself. And they realized, holy shit, they were imitating. It was a scam. They were cosplaying. I believed it, and I developed a false image of myself that I never put into words, so I can't see. It has to be inferred. I must be thinking this. You can't see it because it wasn't put into words. Our goal, therefore, so again, we can gain an understanding of to our true quest, is to infer from our peak experience the self. You can't see it. It is seeing. The thing, so we talked about the greatest experience having a beginning, middle, and end. What's viewing it? So the self that we're after also has to be inferred, to be seen as sight seeing itself. Similarly, the idea of self you don't know you have because, again, it was inferred. You didn't put it into words because it was too dangerous. Because putting things into words is our ideal functioning. That's the dialectic. Questions about what's most important so you can answer it in words. That's the logos. The logos is the entire game. You weren't able to ask questions or put your image of the self into words. No logos. So the dialectic is how to create the ideal conditions. I'm not threatening you. You may perceive I'm threatening you. That's your game. That's the belief game. That's your parents' game. That's your politicians and religious and capitalist game. Everyone else in society. That's not the true nature of man. The true nature of man is the dialectician. We are different from everyone else, including academic philosophers. This is the only good way of being. So we are not going to punish you or blame you or put you down. We're going to ask you questions so you can put into words what is most meaningful, so you can find the unsuspected false idea of the self that made you addicted to this state of mind, not just in this debate, but in your whole freaking life, and will cause your negative future. To purify you from that, to free yourself from the chains of your problems, allowing you to participate more providentially, more ideally in the logos, so you can develop an understanding of those higher principles, not just of our physical world or the cause of human problems in the physical world, but the cause of all problems, specifically these problems, so you can also infer from that what must be our purpose and our ideal, so you can come to develop understanding, which leads to insights, the greatest peak experience of mind itself, and then asking questions even of that to infer the actual self. The exact same thing we do to surface our problems, we are supposed to do for our enlightenment. So that's what was really happening, and that's how we would go through that dialectic on that debate ideally. Addressing the truth and then the humanness. What was being said and what was really being said. And creating the ideal conditions for that, which means it's a relationship. Whatever he learns about this, he'll have to test for himself and then report back. And then we go through it again. It's not a one-off. Meaning, in order to do that, to turn this crazy viral debate, whatever, into actual rationality, he would have to share his experiences with his friends, seek to develop understanding and insights, not just of the topic, but of his own way of functioning. Expect the counterattacks from his belief, either in the talk or as he implies it, in the talk where you get the definition, or in his life when he applies it in demonstration. Again, share it with your friends. We are friends, we're not enemies. That's belief, that's us versus them. So you can perfect your Usia and Logos, definition and demonstration. And then when you do reach higher states of being, keep going. In other words, the 4 principles that we have defined of what it means to be good person, or Hellenic, or a lover of understanding. So, if you're not familiar with the debate I'm talking about, that's okay. I described it. One person was trying to communicate true principles about what's most meaningful and used a word that would be funny or engaging or get attention to do it. And another person said, don't do that. You're gonna... Well, he couldn't communicate what he was really saying, but it was an excuse to play his role. Now, and a better person could say, actually, I am not playing this believer's game. I'm actually understanding what you're saying, understanding the principles, and I also share the meaningfulness of it. But we could maybe, if you wanted to reflect on how to do it better, I'm open to reflecting on how maybe you could gain attention in a different way by using this word, not that word. That would be a very, very different dialogue to have. So I'm not saying the rational man was perfect. Of course not. He also has to go through these two processes. But the debate wasn't actually that at all. It was a very good demonstration of the nature of the human addiction to belief and its harmful functioning, and how it opposes reason and understanding, and how these two people can't see eye to eye. Therefore, you needed a moderator, someone with the dialectic. And there was a moderator, but he lacked that skill. So maybe one day there'll be a person who develops that skill of the dialectic and can moderate even conversations between these two kinds of people. It'd be a win-win.
Win.
So, yes, just from my own conclusion, the two triangles, the one of the logos, the one of the pathologos in the human game, can't skip the step. You can't just say, oh, because I can recognize you're in a problem state because you are playing a certain character. I can see your tone has changed. I can see your acting. I can maybe catch that Joker smile that comes with people when they know they're in their pathologos and they're doing it anyway. Even though I might be able to recognize you're in your negative state of being and your problem state of vice, which will not be helpful because it only ever does harm. So you're not going to be able to explore ideas or benefit. Well, you have to go through this first stage. You can't just say, well, what state of mind are you in? You have to explore. You have to recognize you have a problem to want to change. Now, that problem can manifest as an inability to explore the problem. So as we explore the self-logos through the dialectic, exploring the idea to develop understanding, which will lead together, step by step. One person has to ask the question, the other person answers, or even when there's a group, there's one person asking the question, and you might be able to, the person answering can ask for help, of course, like, I don't understand that, can I get help from my friend? It's a cooperative game. Okay, so I've heard Pierre Grimes say the word cooperation doesn't apply here. So we're not equal in that we're all just sharing putting our ideas and they're all of equal value. No. This truth is independent. But we are working together friendlily. So as we explore ideas, the block could come up at any stage. I refuse to explore an idea with understanding, because understanding is so right at the beginning the block could come. And we are seeing all of these evidences of a block to understanding being demonstrated by Harry. We've heard him say, logic is just is just to manipulate people, or it's all word games, or there is no truth. Whatever stage the person is blocked from following the logos, it could be all the way down to the conclusion. Maybe he's followed all of the steps, but he's unwilling to conclude, as Harry demonstrated earlier. Hang on a second, I see what you're getting at. I don't want to conclude. Or there was a part in the text where he did seem to conclude, but he didn't like that conclusion. So it's not a matter of not concluding, it's throwing away your conclusion, not maintaining it. So there are stages that will block the logos, develop exploration of the idea through the dialectic at any point. And then, when someone can no longer follow reason, now we go into the problem. Then we go into the other triangle. No human being who hasn't gone through this process completely lacks this negative triangle. This is the human thing. So it's not a blame game. Oh, you've got a problem, or I'm not going to explore my problem. I never have problems. Blah. Now, you might say, well, I don't feel safe exploring a problem with you here, or I don't trust that you are genuinely interested. Whatever, that's a different thing. Which, again, could be true or not. Could be a block. But that's the game. That's why we talk to good people who have a good heart as well as a good head. Philo Dianoia. So once you're blocked from the logos, you have to address your logos, because
I'm always good, and that is what I stand for, being good all the time.
that may be true, but that's not what I meant to press. Because
the problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
there you go. So you can reason through the ideas, and when they hit their block, they didn't reason themselves into that block, they believed their way into it. Therefore, you need to do both. That's the two-pronged approach to Hubert Gabe's logos and pathologos. Dialectic for both. And it's always good to have a dream as well. So either before or after you do this, you say, hey, any dreams? Let's explore what the dream has to say. And then you can have fun comparing the message of the dream to what we explored in the ideas. So it's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
You're drunk, Oracle.
Dead-eyed, and I don't use this kind of terminology lightly. Dimwit crap, junk. Nobody should be watching this crap.
Hey!
They're freaks.
They're freaks.
You actually are too stupid to interact with the rest of the world. You should literally be in a labor camp for the rest of your life. You should be in the
mines for the rest of your life. You should lose the right to vote because you're such a fucking idiot.
That's what you get for insulting me, soundboard man. You have to live in the mines. You insult me, you're so stupid, you have to live in the mines. What do you think of that?
Absolutely gooped.
Well, too bad. You have to live in the mines. Go and live in the mines now. Alright, so that's where we're on the text. Let's keep reading. So, you don't just have to face the nothingness of your position in life because there is an alternative. That's the way of the logos. Now, of course, believers will interpret that according to their belief. That's just a word game. There are no alternatives. So to save the tradition or the belief, or to save the faith, you need to So Joseph says, is there any interest in finding what's true? Whoops. Where's your philos? Where's your motivation? Where's your love? Do you have an interest in finding what's true? Or are you so far gone in your addiction to belief? Nope. All you have are clever arguments, but the truth is that your point can be ignored, and is ignored, and will always be ignored by the believer. New interpretations save the faith. That's an undeniable fact. Then aren't the newer interpretations being offered for the older and weaker ones? If anything has to be interpreted, is it weak? If it's weak, why not file it away and look for something you can study directly without the need to save it? That's why we've been talking about... Oh, and now I'm outside. Now I'm inside. And now I'm at the board. Reading. So any... I keep using the word debate. Any debate or dialogue or whatever, there has to be shared material. If you've ever seen those YouTube debates where it's just two goofballs yelling at each other, it's because they can reject the evidence. I saw a study where all gay people are actually evil, actually. I saw it in a study on PragerU. There needs to be a shared material that you can both reflect on as the mean term. Dream analysis, same thing. We look at the dream. So you and the dialectician look at the dream. In a conversation, so that debate I mentioned earlier, they should have defined exactly the source material. What exactly was said, so we can get on the same page. Now we can look at the principle, define the principle behind it, demonstrate how it functions, apply it in different divisions to whether it is or whether it isn't. That's the proof stage, and from that proof come to a conclusion or synthesize the new idea from that proof that we can analyze, because conclusion has synthesis analysis, which means bring it back to that principle and gain a deeper understanding of that principle. It's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win.
That's what I said.
Wrong. You're so wrong. But that's
What?
okay. We're all allowed to be wrong sometimes.
I don't think I was wrong.
That's anti-feminist in some way.
Okay, I was wrong. Don't want to be anti-feminist.
Listen and learn, morons. This is gangster.
Okay, it is gangster. So, so that's read. So we're reading texts that don't have to be saved by belief. That's why we read Pierre Grimes and the Balboa translations of Plato and Homer. So why study it directly? Why not study it directly without the need to save it? Or if it has any merits along with its weakness, then acknowledge that and go on. I favor studying directly and weighing carefully each idea to discover its interconnectedness with the parts. To go to the basic building blocks of the system, which we have been doing with the self-logos terms, and then seeing its unity. So why not set aside the saving game of interpretation, because it blocks you from learning to see what is actually there. What discipline are you mastering if every time you have a problem with the text you jump in and interpret it? No discipline. What is needed is to train the mind through understanding so that it can reach for creative insights. And it is this in turn that matures the understanding, which is that principle we talked about. Use the insights for understanding. Of course, there's a different kind of scholarship that provides the latest fashions and interpretations and replaces previous old fashions with interpretations. Harry points to history and say, well, doesn't let's look at this thing here. Let us consider this a different way. We both agree that cultures and historical periods differ, but we differ onto what to do with the difference, right? For myself, I am drawn to speculate about the differences I find among historical periods. Right. I wonder about what forces were at work that propelled vast development through one period and later in a brief period of time, brought about rapid decline or produced a static and rigid society. Now, we have been wondering about that and wondering if one is the philodianoia, love of understanding, and one is philodoxia, love of beliefs and opinions. Harry doesn't like that idea. What about the Greeks makes you think that they are better? Everyone, there's no better. We're all just different. There's no one better. A murderer is just as good as a saint. Hey, Europe has lasted longer and done more in those little city-states of ancient Greece. But I'm not saying that Europe is better, just different. See, can't judge. Belief blocks judgment. Because each period of history is really different than the others. It is kind of simple. Each period of history is a result of tradition working itself out in the present. And that is nothing other than people in the present interpreting the past. You find yourself in history, which is nothing more than people keeping alive their interpretations of the past, and in that interpretation you find yourself and you do your understanding. So he's demonstrating the fascism of MAGA. They want to change the history books because they are lying. They want people to be ignorant about the implications of their way of being. Slavery, capitalism, imperialism. Actually, slavery was good, actually, says the right-wing fascists. What are they doing? They're interpreting. They're leaving out what is there and adding stuff that isn't there to save their old traditions that they personally benefit from and want to conserve. Conservatism is simply trying to conserve the old, outdated, false belief systems that they think they personally benefit from, which also includes interpreting the past. So this idea that all history is just people keeping alive their interpretations of the past, isn't that a traditional European way of looking at history? Sure, I suppose most Europeans would defend it, says Harry. I never did get it straight. But you know what a professor of mine once said? He said that the study of political history didn't originate in Europe at all. It has an Islamic influence. Would you say that, Joseph replies, wouldn't you say this theory preserves certain European traditions? Harry says, I would say it includes that, but some of their traditions weren't historical. Wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. So we've gone through this already. Our current system is to save or interpret the European way of looking at things. That's all just belief. Which ignores the Islamic influences and other things. Why not study everything within a historical context? Why must we do that? What does it add? Harry says understanding takes place in history. You can't get out of your own personal history to understand anything because you carry the interpretation of the past with you when you try to understand. You see, even if there are differences among cultures or civilization, none is superior to any other, right? Hey, socialism and fascism, they're just two sides of the same coin. The horseshoe theory, right? An extreme leftist wants healthcare for everyone. An extreme fascist wants death camps for everyone. They're essentially the same. That's how belief thinks, because belief functions in opposition to understanding, and understanding is using the mind to judge. So as a dialectician too, we ask questions and we judge answers. Not all answers are right. So each state is within its own stage of historical development, and so the rise of fall of each state takes place within some civilization or culture. Yet cultures have the same elements doing the same thing at different times. That's all. Sometimes it looks like progress. Other times it's believing you are doomed. But what ties it together is nothing other than the shared belief of traditions. This is what believers think is good, is their highest idea, a shared belief of traditions. So those MAGA rallies and stuff where some comedian asks them a question, hey, what do you think about this? And then some MAGA person gives some batshit crazy answer. No other MAGA person believes that. Well, I don't believe what that lady says, but we're still together. This lady didn't think we landed on the moon. That MAGA person believes that we should remove the separation of church and state. That person believes that Trump never did anything bad in his life. That person thinks Trump is Jesus. No belief person has the same belief because it's all filtered through their own beliefs and interpretations. But they don't care because they all wear the same red hat. It gives them a common bond of feeling. While actual knowingness on higher states of mind has a feeling connected to it because they're peak experiences, belief doesn't have that. They take that feeling of togetherness as a surrogate for the feeling of oneness. So it's a physical unity of cult taken as a surrogate of the unity of consciousness knowing itself at all points. Actual knowingness. Now I'm using the word point as a bit of an analogy because it's there'll come a moment where the points fuse into a oneness, but that's a different story. So a common belief tradition gives you a common bond of feeling, and you know what else that does? It allows you to quickly sense you can quickly sense this when you decide who's for and who's against you. Right? Isn't that the whole thing? Believers can only do harm. So what do you need? An enemy. It's the woke. I want the people in California to suffer. So I like it when Trump does bad things to them. I want the Muslims or the immigrants or the women or the brown people, everyone except me, to suffer. Belief. That's how belief works. Who's for you, who's against you. And we talked about that debate that we were reflecting on earlier. When the rational man tried to talk about the principles, the belief man just interpreted it as, well, you're against me because that's how I think. My team against your team. So if you're trying to challenge the validity of a point I'm making, you're against me, you're the bad guy. Remember, two triangles. Two triangles. Our development through logos and understanding, and our savage problems and blocks through belief and pathologos. Joseph says, what is that position? Always remind me of those other clever aphorisms. You know, the ones that claim you can't lift yourself up by your own historical bootstraps, or you can't go beyond the place you were born to, or know your place, stay on your own side of the tracks. So all of these aphorisms used by believers to say, don't develop, don't grow, don't ask questions. Stay in your role. Know your role, jabroni, as The Rock says. Well, it's true, says Harry, the believer. Hey, if you're born Muslim, then that's your role. Be a Muslim. March under that banner, kill the non-Muslims, be a slave to the people who claim to be the authorities, and die. That's it. Same thing for Mormons, same thing for Jews, same thing for Christians, etc. Same thing for MAGA. Joseph said, doesn't that mean you can't break out of those limitations by learning and experiencing those other cultures? Those are the two aspects, isn't it? Logos and ousia, reason and evidence, learning and experience, learning and nurture. Always those two things. I don't suspect you mean that. Or do you mean that that things like Christianity are dead because they've come from another age and tradition? For it did emerge from a Near Eastern culture that was dominated by the Roman Empire. No, I don't mean that. Let's get the characters back in so we know who's talking, and we'll do the voices. I don't mean Christianity is dead. Oh, no way. Because what started there started us. And we are still in that tradition, that's why. I know what you're going to say, but let me explain. That's why we interpret. Keeping alive the old in a new form and adapting it so it doesn't die out. Systems that can't adapt die. Those that can are successful. Harry, have you ever wondered if Christianity is, in principle, weak and needs to be saved by every generation? Of course not. The difference adaptive systems have over others is that they have the capacity to survive. Now that's a difference that makes a difference, right? Well, you may be right, but consider this difference and tell me what you make of it. The Greeks allegorized the mythology of Homer, but neither the Australian Aboriginals nor the Christians could allegorize theirs. Difference: allegory. What's allegory? The use of mythology only to represent true principles through Damn it, hang on. To represent the true principles that are better grasped rationally. You might tell a fairy tale to a kid, but you hope when he grows up he learns how to understand properly. Doesn't believe in fairy tales anymore. That's the difference. The Aborigines and the Christians, they all still believe in fairy tale. The movement is through analogy to the meaning. Same thing with our approach to dreams. Dreams are not literal. You're not really going to get eaten by a dragon tomorrow if you dreamed it. You raise from the mythological to the meaning, anagogic, upward moving. That's the difference. So yes, some cultures are better. What's the standard for what cultures are better? Rationality. How do we see that demonstrated within a culture? If their mythology is allegorical. If their stories about Spider-Man and Superman are allegorical, or the chief, that's our mythology of our age. But religion of whatever culture, if it's allegorical, meaning if it's a personification of true rational principles that you can develop an understanding of and directly experience in the soul's movement through understanding to mind itself and beyond through understanding to cross the purple line to the self. That's it. There's no upward movement, no anagogic movement in belief. It's all literal, fairy tales. Like a kid still believing in Santa when he's an adult. So, allowing us to therefore a standard for human development. Are you a belief-based person? Well, then you're not as good. Oh, how can you say that? Everyone is just as good. Hey, can everyone run as fast as Usain Bolt? No, of course not. Can everyone slam dunk as good as Wembenyama? No. The difference here is you can develop. Anyone can participate in reason. That's the dialectic. That's what you're supposed to be here for. Believers want to lie. Hey, Trump's just as wise as a philosopher? Bullshit. Killing people is just as good as saving people? Bullshit. Dropping bombs on Iranian primary schools is just as good as free healthcare for everyone? Bullshit. Belief always functions irrationally to prevent judgment. We're learning how to think, to judge. So, allegories is a standard for a culture. Is it a rational allegory, or is it just a personification of your beliefs, saved through interpretation? So allegories allow you to use your mind in a more profound way, that's all. When a whole culture can engage in it, then it brings about a new stage in their development. On the basis of that kind of reflection, the Greeks were able to grasp that the rational is the higher and more general expression of the mythical. they could see how the higher can be symbolized in metaphors, similes, and allegories, and so enjoy them both. You can still have your fairy tales, you can still have your Spider-Man and Superman, only we've got to make sure that their messages are true. This is why the right-wing fascists always fail in their entertainment media. They always try and start like propaganda, like Veggie Tales for the Christians, or the PragerU Christian cartoons to the children that say, actually, slavery was good, actually. The slaves like being slaves, actually. Literally. This fucking crazy bullshit is pumped out through the media. And of course, those who look deeper into Hollywood itself recognize it goes all through Hollywood media as well. But the difference is, well, if it's rational, we can enjoy it and see it's good. And it can be objects of reflection for our own development. So, what's that called? Allegories. How do we learn it? Your dreams. So these ideas of metaphor, simile, and allegories you can apply to your dreams. What do the objects and furniture represent metaphorically? What were the state of minds like in the similes? And how does that drama allegorize your life? How is that drama lived out in your dream allegorizing your whole life? Generally, what's going on in your life specifically currently, still in an allegory. It's an allegory because it's got extra meaning in there. So it's talking about your present, it's talking about your life as a whole, but it's also talking about your entire evolution through multiple reincarnations as a whole. Different stages of meaning that you can move through using analogy, metaphor, simile, and allegory. Learn it by learning to understand your dreams. It's a win-win.
Win, 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 win.
I think it's so awesome.
It is so awesome. So that's where the highlighting ends. So we'll do some more reading because we need to do some more reading. So, what makes the Greeks better? Their mythology was allegorical, and they recognized the rational was higher and more general, open to everyone. So to be Hellenic wasn't where you were born or what you believe, it was your state of mind and being. Rational, following the logos, using analogy, wondering about the nature of self, reality, and exploring ideas through the dialectic. That's what made you Hellenic, and makes you it now. What does Harry have to say about that? So why make a big deal of that? Why? Because I am not quite as sure as I would like to be about this issue. But what I can say is that our religious figures and symbols have little direct relevance to my life and needs. I was a party animal long enough and began wanting to understand myself and test how far reasoning and the use of the intellect can take me. I made that step. I separated myself from much of my tradition. How can I put it? Because I am irresistibly drawn to the free exercise of my intelligence. And even though I know well enough that I have just begun my own seeing, I delight in the insights I have seen so far. The devotional aspects of the religious life have nothing to do with my goals and are, more often than not, going along a different path than my own. Wow. Are you like that? Are you irresistibly drawn to the free exercise of your intelligence? Do you want to use your intellect and see how far it goes? Are you over being a party animal to the point where you actually want to engage in reason? Are you over the devotional crap of religion and belief? If so, good for you.
Do a poggers.
We'll do a poggers for you.
I think it's awesome.
And I think it's awesome as well.
It's not being crazy. It's called reaching a higher sense of being.
Exactly, and you're not crazy, you're reaching a higher state of being. What happened to you? You go to Plato and religion dies. Look, the Greeks had Homer. The Christians believe the Bible. To each his own. The ancient Greeks are dead. You can't resurrect them. You tell me why you would want to believe in Greek mythology. None of this makes sense. None of it makes sense. A Hellenic, like I was talking about a second ago. A Hellenic, which is what the Greeks called themselves, is a state of mind, not a system of beliefs. I promise I didn't read ahead. I've got cookie on my teeth, forget about that. I didn't read ahead. Sometimes I'm ahead of the curve. To be Hellenic is a state of mind, not a system of beliefs. The Hellenics didn't have any split between the use of the mind and imagination. They could participate and share in the same images about the most profound aspects of life, the divine, some by using their intellect and some by using their imagination. They didn't have to sacrifice their minds or repress the imaginative side of their natures. Their epics, architecture, statues, temples, and dramatic plays all sought to achieve an excellence that reveals in their perfection a shadow of the divine. What a sentence. Sought to achieve an excellence that reveals in their achieve an excellence reveals in their perfection a shadow of the divine. Wow. There was never a need to either take these myths literally or historically, simply because no one would have thought that they would gain salvation by believing them. Let me put it another way. No Hellenic would have said that the way to gain eternal life was to believe the Iliad, you idiot.
Fucking bitch, pussy ass fucker.
Okay. When men use allegories, similes, and analogies to find natural parallels with their experiences, I like that, they not only become more rational, but also preserve their roles in society. And they keep alive their traditions. I am most interested in exploring this issue. Doesn't this kind of inquiry interest you? I imagine it would, since you hold that understanding takes place in history. So, if you seek to achieve excellence in what you do, and in that achievement, in the revealing of the perfection of what you do, you are revealing a shadow of the divine. Unified. Your reason, your intellect, your imagination, your mind, all together doing the same thing. And when you use allegories, similes, and analogies to find parallels in your life experience, as we've been talking about in our relationships, in how we explore ideas with others, in our dreams, you are becoming rational. You're opening yourself up to insight. You're also preserving your role in society, which is interesting. I don't know what that means. Preserving your role in society. And you're keeping alive the true tradition, the Hellenic tradition, which is a state of mind and not a belief. So what does Harry say to that, since he loves history so much? Harry says, I'm not sure about all this. It seems to have gotten all messed up. But for me, they're just different. I'll never figure out why anyone would waste their time trying to classify Greek mythology as religion. As far as I can see, it is not even a genuine religious expression, much less a religion. Harry. Damn it, Harry.
Hey, you can't say that to her. You show her some respect.
What?
That's insane. Like, you need help. There's no help, actually. You need a straitjacket.
No help for you, Harry. You need a straitjacket. Right, Emma?
Freaks.
Okay. Oh, Aaliyah is back. Aaliyah says, "They're not just different to me, Harry. I'd like to see what's behind that point Joseph made about allegorizing. Are you saying that the cultures that could allegorize their mythologies have a significantly different development than those who couldn't?" Ooh. See, while Harry's being a bit of a goose, Aaliyah's stepping in and saying, hang on a second, I'm actually curious. Maybe she is entering into that Hellenic state of being. As Joseph described, no longer interested in partying all day, every day, and wanting to party animal long enough. Wanting to understand myself and test how far reasoning and the use of the intellect can take me. Irresistibly drawn to the free exercise of my intelligence. Delighting in the insights that we have seen. Is Aaliyah entering into the Hellenic state of mind? So are those that you allegorize their mythologies significantly different development have a significantly different development than those who don't? What does Joseph say? Yes. The Jews didn't have a model. Sorry. The Jews didn't have to model their thought and actions on a jealous, angry, and tribal deity after Philo showed them how the Old Testament could be allegorized. Philo did for the Bible what the ancient Greeks did to Homer. But the Christians resist allegorizing their myth, and so they can't break out of their static forms. So there is little chance for them to develop an appreciative understanding of systems or theories of reality beyond forms. So the Jews' religion was based on their thought and actions. Once again, belief ain't neutral. It's how you think and act. Let's look at the genocide happening against the Palestinians. So their thoughts and actions are based on a jealous, angry, and tribal deity. Whereas there was a guy named Philo who showed them how you could allegorize the Old Testament, which is turning the stories of the Old Testament into expressions of the Logos and Pathologos, make them Hellenic. So there are some Jewish people who give up the old horseshit. We are not a chosen tribal group with a specific tribal deity who's angry and jealous and justifies murder and enslavement and concentration camps and genocide, all of the stuff we see happening today. There are, of course, Jews who don't allegorize their mythology and are doing those horrific things, as there are Christians who are doing the same thing. Only the Christians resist. They are more resistant to allegorizing their mythology. Interesting? Don't take it personally. It's not us versus them bullshit. It's understanding, which is true, universal, verifiable, and necessary to become rational and Hellenic. Aaliyah, how do you see allegorizing does that? Does what? allow people to overcome their angry, tribal, jealous deity, break out of their ignorance, and develop an appreciation for understanding of systems and theories of reality beyond physical forms. How does allegorizing do that? She asked. Since allegorizing in its perfect form is the art that tells a story in one set of terms, but its meaning must be discovered in a parallel set of terms. It allows the perception of a higher, more rational form behind a more primitive expression. So there we have a fantastic demonstration of allegory. So we have a primitive expression in the stories, in our drama, in the fights you have with your friends or relationships, in the debates you have with your friends, in the ups and downs of life, also in your thoughts, also in your fantasies, also in your dreams, also in your distracting tangents. Primitive. They are particular. They are forms. People who are staying that level think, oh, that's just it. That's it. There's no meaning. Either thoughts are a sickness or thoughts are all that's real. So if I have this fantasy, well, that's it. There's no meaning behind it. Hey, if anything, I want to fantasize more often. Become a gooner.
Goon, 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 goon.
Goon, goon, goon.
Gooner bait.
Some goons and some gooners and some weirdos.
And some weirdos. But what we're seeing is, oh, what if you understood it allegorically? Could everything be a message from the higher self and the divine to help your development? So there's the primitive expression that we just talked about, but we can be open to a perception of a higher and more rational form through allegory. So there's the story in one set of terms, and its meaning in a higher set. And we'll be talking about how we can test that in our dreams. To the anagogic movement from the particulars, through the use of analogy, to the rational and more general, from the particulars to the meaningful. Aaliyah, what do you call a perfect allegory? I mean, what would be an example of a perfect allegory? One of the greatest allegories is Plato's allegory of the cave and the upper world, found in the 7th book of the Republic. The meaning of each term and its relationship to all the others in that allegory can be found within the Republic itself. Oops. Thus, it provides an easy way to test your understanding of the work as a whole. That's interesting, but what does it do? I mean, if you ignore it, as I did when I read it, what have you really lost? Lost? With it, you have to consciously search out all of the parallel terms, and then you have to systematically reconcile all of the parts into a splendid unity. If you do it, you will learn what understanding a dialogue is all about. More than this, it will also bring you to the curious task of working out the relationships between the good and the idea of the good self, and the idea with a capital I means eidos, which means the beholding of the good. So the good self and the experience, peak experience of mind as the goodness. And that is something I have found to be very challenging. Yes, we talk about it a lot because it's challenging and also the most interesting. So, that's how you do anything. You have a video game, you have all of these terms, you got a green lock and a green key. You have to find, well, you get given all of these locked doors in the Resident Evil game. you have to go through the game. You can't bring in your beliefs from another game. You can't bring in keys from another game. You look at all of the locks, you go through the game, you find all of the keys, and you match them up to progress through the game. Same thing with this. Only they fit together, but the thing is with Allegory, you can take all of those keys now and put them together into a mega key. So all of the keys fit into the locks, sure, but they all stand separately. Now you've got this inventory of keys that all fit together to make a, what does it call it? A splendid unity. So you can go to check out the Balboa translation, find it online, of Book 7 of the Republic to find the cave analogy. And every term in that cave allegory you can find within the book, giving you a map of reality and the spiritual quest. Neat? So it's not belief, you have to do something. Gotta learn how to read and solve puzzles and have fun with your friends over coffee. Cheers. Leah. This may be a dumb question, but how does that relate to philosophy? The journey to the idea of the good, what we are calling crossing the green line, which, by the way, is described as the most brilliant light of being, is the royal road that the philosopher travels. And gaining that vision is the practice of philosophy. Now you know what philosophy is. Crossing that green line and gaining that vision of the brilliant light of being, or the eidos of the good, the beholding of the good. But there is still more. You see, once that has been seen, one knows it as ultimate reality. And from that lofty vision, one is said to be able to go on to cross the purple line to grasp the nature of the good itself through the mastery of the dialectic. That sounds like a good place to stop. He's just described what philosophy is, which is a kind of vindication of what everything we've been seeing. From our recognition of these two triangles that define the human condition, the belief triangle, false image of self, negative states of mind, and belief interpretation, to purify that through the dialectic, the cause of human problems, and perfect through the art of dialectic the knowing of the self, the highest state of mind, and the functioning through understanding, or crossing the green line, from the physical world of perceptions, what is false, or the lesser. We have beliefs and image thinking, crossing the green line to wisdom, nous knowing, and where understanding gets its parts from, gets its source. That Joseph is calling the brilliant light of being, or the idea of the good, or we're calling goodness. But then go on through that dialectic that you've been learning to cross that green line, to look back from the other side of the green line to purify beliefs. Use that same dialectic to, as we said, even use our peak experiences for understanding to cross the purple line, to go from the goodness to the good. Or, as it's said in the Republic, the idea of the good to the good self. So, what we have been seeing as our purpose to cross the green line and cross the purple line, Joseph just confirmed for us. Hooray. The journey to the idea of the good, which, by the way, is described as the most brilliant light of being, is the royal road that the philosopher travels. And gaining that vision is the practice of philosophy. But there is still more. You see, once that has been seen, one knows it as ultimate reality. And from that lofty vision, one is said to be able to go on to grasp the nature of the good self through the mastery of the dialectic. Aaliyah says, damn it, where's Aaliyah? Here's Joseph. Sit down, Joseph. Aaliyah says, I haven't the faintest idea of what you're talking about, she says.
You just
Fuck.
She says, fuck.
Die mad about it, bitch.
Oh my goodness.
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
She says, die mad about it, and you're having a mental health episode. No, she doesn't. She says, I haven't the faintest idea of what you're talking about, but it sounds wonderful. It sounds...
They're secretly turned on by it.
No,
Now we're getting into extreme Jordan Peterson levels of whimsy.
we are. We're going too whimsical on the soundboard. Let's get back to the text. I haven't the faintest idea of what you're talking about, but it sounds wonderful. But that brings me to ask, why you used Plato's allegory instead of selecting the one from Philo? Is one better than the other? So, with that definition of what philosophy is from the text, by the way, if you are solving the pieces or putting the pieces together, has to be from the text. As we said, has to be from the same game that you're in. So, fantastic definition of what philosophy is. And we're left with the question, wait a minute, are some allegories better than others? Why is Plato's allegory such a brilliant one, better than the others? And didn't you mention that there was a guy named Philo who saved the Jewish tradition by allegorizing the Old Testament? The same way the Platonics did to Homer? Why is one better than the other? Maybe it's to do with one was trying to save a belief that was flawed to begin with, and one was just created from the Logos. Lots to wonder about. Hey, everything we've been exploring about how to solve the mysteries of the text by looking at the allegory and using the allegory of the drama, moving from the specifics to the meaning, from the particular forms to the general and rational, by finding the correlations within the text itself, apply it to your dreams. Outline the particulars of your drama and approach it allegorically. Can each object, or using the metaphor of the objects and the similes of states of mind, can you solve every term within the drama that you played out in your dream last night or tonight? Can you use the dream itself to solve that puzzle? There's only one way to find out. Good luck, and if you want to share your success, your ups and downs, ups and downs in that learning of the dialectic, feel free to join the Discord. You can follow along on Twitch. You can donate to the channel if you like, and you can find a PDF to the link of the text we're reading below. And if you want to find that allegory of the cave, download the Balboa, B-A-L-B-O-A, translation of the Republic, and look at the beginning of Book 7. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy your dreams tonight.